You can save a man from the ghetto, but you can't erase the ghetto from his soul. Thierry Henry. What is a ghetto? A ghetto is the name given to run-down neighborhoods where people, often marginalized by society, live together and where crime is widespread. Maybe it would be better if I explain it like this. Imagine you visit a country you've never been to before, and the locals warn you to stay away from a certain street or neighborhood, especially after dark. That place, that's a ghetto. And that was where Henry grew up. Thierry Henry was born on August 17, 1977, in Les Ulis, a small suburb of Paris, and he grew up in a ghetto. The Henry family lived in a small apartment. Living conditions weren't exactly great. His father, Antoine, directed Thierry towards sports at an early age, encouraging him to channel his energy into something positive. He would often take Thierry to matches because he knew that living in that environment, Thierry needed something to occupy all his time and keep him out of trouble. Henry was lucky. According to his father, most of Thierry's childhood friends ended up on the wrong side of the law. He had two choices, his father says. He would either study hard or become a footballer. There was no third option. Thierry wasn't very fond of schoolwork, so he chose football. Sometimes he thought I was too hard on him, his father admits, but I have no regrets. It's how I kept him out of trouble. As a child, the only thing I saw around me was concrete, Henry recalls. Tall gray buildings everywhere. It was among those buildings that a little boy named Thierry chased a football around a small yard. There was only one ball, and around 15 to 20 kids. Maybe he didn't realize it then, but fighting to play more with that ball, outrunning the others, was his first form of training. It soon became clear that Henry had a natural talent for football. He began playing at the youth academies of Les Ulis and Palaiseau. At 14, he earned a spot at Clairefontaine, the prestigious French Football Federation Academy. In 1994, he was spotted by Arsène Wenger, then manager of Monaco, and signed for the club. Even back then, Wenger had a keen eye for young talent. But by the end of Henry's first year, Wenger had left Monaco. Under new coach Jean Tigana, Henry spent 4.5 successful years at Monaco. During this time, he won a Ligue 1 title, was named France's Young Player of the Year in 1996, won the European U18 Championship with France, made 122 appearances, and scored 25 goals. At the time, Henry often played as a winger, so he wasn't always in front of goal. But his big break came when he was called up to the French national team for the 1998 World Cup, hosted on home soil. It was a golden opportunity for him to show his talent, and he did. France won the tournament, and Henry caught everyone's eye by scoring 3 goals in 6 matches. In many ways, Henry in 1998 was what Kylian Mbappé was in 2018, just 1 or 2 years older. Lightning speed, unbelievable agility, incredible dribbling skills, raw talent. Throughout the tournament, he terrorized opposing right-backs. A new star was being born in France. In the winter transfer window of the following season, Henry moved to Italian giant Juventus for $12.5 million. However, Juventus coach Marcello Lippi couldn't really recognize Henry's potential. Asked to contribute defensively, Henry couldn't express his real game. He struggled tactically, was even booed by his own fans during training sessions, and the situation became unbearable. Henry describes that period as the time he lost his passion for football. Arsène Wenger, the man who had brought Henry to Monaco at just 17, still believed in him. After becoming Arsenal's manager, Wenger signed Henry from Juventus in the summer of 1999 for $16 million. And so began Henry's London chapter. Back then, it was common for fast athletic players to be used on the wing, as most teams played with a 4-4-2 formation. But Wenger had a bright idea for Henry. Known for his ability to develop young players, Wenger believed Henry just needed a little boost in confidence and some work on his finishing. Otherwise, he already had everything needed to become a world-class striker. Wenger paired Henry up front with 1.97-meter-tall Nwankwo Kanu, creating a complementary attacking duo. Although Manchester United dominated the Premier League that season, Arsenal still had a very good year, finishing second. In the UEFA Cup, Arsenal beat every opponent they faced to reach the final in Copenhagen on May 17, 2000, where they met Galatasaray. If there was one thing missing from Thierry Henry's brilliant Arsenal career, it was a European trophy. He was destined to become a legend, but not just yet. Henry was flawless throughout the season. He scored 25 goals in 43 matches, showing that goal scoring was in his genes. Another major tournament awaited, Euro 2000. The French national team didn't just avoid defeat, they didn't even draw a match. Henry played in 5 matches and scored 3 goals, helping France defeat Italy in the final and secure back-to-back major tournament victories. Once again, Zidane and Henry were in starring roles. The development of Henry and Arsenal progressed in parallel. Challenging Manchester United was no easy task. One step forward, then another. Day by day, Henry grew stronger with his performances and was gradually adapting to the role of the team's most crucial player. What does it take to be a goal scorer? Opportunism, goal sense, an ability to smell scoring chances, a bit of physical strength, a bit of quickness, some finishing skills, being able to use both feet, aerial prowess, and so on. Anyone who packs 2 or 3 of these qualities already becomes a goal scorer. But what does it take to be a world-class striker? For example, a perfect inside foot. When Henry turned to face the goal from the right channel and slightly shifted the ball to his left, you knew that move was going to end with a goal. He would place the ball neatly into the inside of the side netting. Or the confidence and composure he displayed, making scoring look as effortless and natural as eating or drinking water. Even after scoring the most incredible goals, he would maintain a poker face. But none of this fully explains Henry. Thierry Henry was the most stylish goal scorer I have ever watched. The only player who could rival him in this regard was the phenomenon, Ronaldo. Henry partnered with a pivot striker like Kanu and a creative mastermind like Bergkamp. It was as if he was equipped with the talents of multiple superheroes. Goals, assists, dribbling, set pieces, he could do it all. You could often see Henry drifting wide or linking up with the midfield. Yet, like a perfectly set alarm clock, he would always be there at the right moment to score. To summarize, he was Batman when needed, Robin when needed. Arsenal finished the 2000-2001 season in second place. The following year, it was finally time to dethrone Manchester United. Arsenal lost only 3 matches that season, beating the Red Devils both home and away to clinch the title with 87 points. Henry scored 31 goals in 44 matches and won his first Premier League title with Arsenal. That Arsenal team was legendary, made up of players who perfectly fulfilled their roles: goalkeeper David Seaman, Patrick Vieira, Robert Pires, Frederick Ljungberg, Sol Campbell, Ashley Cole, and Dennis Bergkamp. And, without a doubt, the #1 problem solver of this machine-like team was Henry. The 2002 World Cup was a huge disappointment for Henry and France. Entering the tournament as back-to-back champions, they crashed out without scoring a single goal. Still, for Henry, who would go on to play in 4 World Cups, simply being there was a major milestone. In the 2002-2003 season, the title race was neck and neck. With 3 matches left, Arsenal lost at home to Leeds United and handed the title back to Manchester United. However, it didn't take long for them to reclaim it. The following season, Arsenal collected 90 points and completed the entire league campaign undefeated. The first and only invincible season in Premier League history. Henry was also part of the French national team at Euro 2004, where they lost to Greece in the quarterfinals. World football was changing. Teams like Greece, who parked the bus in front of goal and won their last 3 matches 1-0, were emerging as champions. France wasn't the only one affected by this shift. In the Premier League, the long-standing 2-horse race between Manchester United and Arsenal saw a new contender enter the scene: Mourinho's Chelsea. With a rigid defense and a disruptive midfield trio, Chelsea changed the very DNA of the Premier League. By week 12 of the 2004 season, Chelsea had taken the lead and never gave it back. The following year, Chelsea won their second consecutive title, while Arsenal turned their focus to writing history in the Champions League. Starting from the round of 16, they defeated Real Madrid, Juventus, and Villarreal to reach the final against Barcelona. It was Henry's first and only Champions League final in an Arsenal shirt. Had they lifted that trophy, perhaps Henry would have never left Arsenal. But that night, things went horribly wrong. In the 18th minute, Arsenal's goalkeeper Lehmann was sent off, leaving them with 10 men. Yet, Henry's brilliant cross found Sol Campbell, who headed the ball into the net to put Arsenal ahead. However, when you're down to 10 men against Barcelona, there's no hiding place. Moreover, Arsène Wenger's teams were always defined by attacking football. Defending deep was never their strong suit. Barcelona scored twice, through Eto'o in the 76th minute and Belletti in the 81st, and lifted the trophy. For Arsenal, this marked the beginning of a decline. In the 2006 World Cup, Zidane and Henry played together for the national team one last time. France beat powerhouses like Spain, Brazil, and Portugal to reach the final. However, what is most remembered from the final against Italy is Zidane's infamous headbutt. Italy went on to win after a penalty shootout. He was subbed off in the 107th minute. Who knows, maybe if Henry had been on the pitch instead of Trezeguet, who missed the final penalty, he could have added another World Cup to his name. The 2006-2007 season. Henry was now 30 years old. It was undeniable, he was among the top 3 or 4 strikers in the world. But his manager, Arsène Wenger, struggled to adapt to the evolving nature of football. He was a master of developing players, but not as effective at replacing the stars who inevitably left. The iconic team featuring Robert Pires, Ljungberg, Patrick Vieira, and Ashley Cole had scattered. Some had aged, others retired, and many had moved on. Eventually, Henry could no longer suppress the competitive fire within him. Arsenal finished the league in 4th place and were knocked out by PSV Eindhoven in the Champions League round of 16. That summer, Henry said goodbye to London. During his time at Arsenal, he had been the league's top scorer 4 times, won 2 Premier League titles, 3 FA Cups, and 5 Community Shields, twice named Footballer of the Year in England. He still holds the record for most European appearances in club history with 86 matches, and with 228 goals in 377 official games, he remains Arsenal's all-time top scorer. In the summer of 2007, Henry made a $22 million move to Barcelona. It was certainly a step up from Arsenal in terms of club stature, but this was far from Barca's best era. This was not the team that had defeated Henry's Arsenal 2 years earlier. Ronaldinho was rapidly declining, and manager Frank Rijkaard had lost control of the dressing room. Near the end of the season, they won just 2 of their last 12 games, suffering a humiliating 4-1 defeat to Real Madrid. They were eliminated from the Champions League semi-finals without scoring a goal against Manchester United. The board had to act. And they made a bold decision. They appointed a young, relatively inexperienced Pep Guardiola. Ronaldinho was gone. Deco was gone. Pep placed a 21-year-old rising star named Messi at the heart of the attack. A few smart signings were made: Piqué, Keita, Dani Alves, but nobody expected immediate results. According to Henry, Guardiola's secret was this: until the ball reached the final third, he demanded absolute tactical and positional discipline. But once the ball got there, he gave his players total creative freedom. In short, he was saying, getting the ball there is my job. Or rather, it's Tiki-Taka's job. Scoring? That's your job. And the plan worked to perfection. Barcelona not only won La Liga and the Copa del Rey, they also conquered the Champions League, beating the very same Manchester United they had failed to score against the previous season. Henry had finally lifted the one trophy missing from his career. The final obstacle on his path to footballing immortality was gone. The following season, competition in the attacking line intensified. Ibrahimovic came in to replace Eto'o. Young talents like Bojan and Pedro started emerging from the academy. Now, 33 years old, Henry could no longer match the energy of the younger players. He spent more time on the bench, but he was content. He added the UEFA Super Cup, another La Liga title, and the Spanish Super Cup to his collection. But his time at Barcelona had come to an end. As the saying goes, form is temporary, class is permanent. In my view, Henry could have still played at the highest level in Europe, but he chose the MLS instead. After all, he had conquered everything in Europe. Living in a city like New York and accepting their astronomical offer was tempting. He left Barcelona with 6 trophies, having played 117 matches and scored 47 goals. Before retiring from elite football, Henry embarked on his 4th and final World Cup journey with France, this time to South Africa. Like Zidane before him, he wanted to end his international career on a high. But France were eliminated in the group stage. In June 2010, against Uruguay, Henry wore the French shirt for the 123rd and final time. He remains France's second most capped player behind Lilian Thuram and is still the nation's all-time top scorer with 51 goals. In the US, Henry was enjoying himself. After all, Americans aren't exactly known for their football expertise. He was teaching the game to his teammates and making Americans fall in love with it. In 2011, Arsenal celebrated their 125th anniversary by unveiling a statue of Thierry Henry outside the Emirates Stadium. That moment, witnessed by a man known for his ice-cold demeanor, was one of the most emotional of his entire life. But it didn't end there. What happened next became one of the countless reasons we love this game. Midway through the 2011 to 2012 season, Arsenal were left short up front as Chamakh and Gervinho left for the African Cup of Nations. They needed a striker for just 2 months. Who could they possibly bring in? Who would even accept such a role? Of course, Thierry Henry. The French striker had come home. Arsenal had no ambitions of winning the league or any major trophies that season, but this was going to be their story. In the FA Cup match against Leeds United, Henry came on in the 68th minute. Just about 10 minutes later, he found himself in a familiar position, left side of the box. He opened up his body and placed the ball into the far corner with his right foot. He won the match for Arsenal. Every Gooner who witnessed that moment felt like they had traveled back in time. There are certain emotions no trophy or title can ever replicate, and that, right there, is why football is such a beautiful game. In 2014, Thierry Henry hung up his boots. He left behind a glorious career, goals, trophies, triumphs. But without a doubt, he will always be remembered most for the way he inspired while wearing the Arsenal shirt. You made us fall in love with the game all over again. Watching you was a joy. You were class. Goodbye, legend.